Joseph Haydn was born on March 31st, 1732, at the little market town of Rohra, Austria. His father, a wheelwright, a great lover of music by nature. His mother had been a cook. Joseph was the second of 12 children. At age 6, Frank noticed that Joseph was musically gifted and took him to Hamburg and gave him musical lessons. His beautiful voice was brought to the attention of Reuter, the director of music in St. Stephen's Cathedral. At age 8, he became the choir boy of St. Stephen's, where he worked for the next 9 years. But he had only 2 lessons in composition, so he appealed to his father for money to buy some theory books. At age 17, when his voice reached the breaking stage, he left the choir. Young Haydn worked as a music teacher, a street serenader, and composed during working, and carefully studied the work of Emanuel Bach. He took a lodging for himself. It contained no stove, and the roof was in such bad repair that the rain and the snow drenched him in bed. The poet Metastagio's rooms were on the 3rd story and heard Haydn's work from the attic. This encounter led him to an Italian composer. He became as a ballet accompanist for Porpora. Haydn learned the true fundamentals of composition from him. He acquired a public reputation, first as the composer of an opera, The Limping Devil, in 1753. With the increase in his reputation, he was appointed Kapellmeister to the Bohemian Count Moltmann at age 27. Next year, he married to Maria Anna, the elder sister of Therese, with whom he'd been in love. The bride was 31. Maria Anna wasn't interested in music. They had a completely unhappy marriage, produced no children. In 1761, he was appointed as a vice Kapellmeister of Prince Esterhazy in Eisenstadt, and the prince died next year, and he was succeeded by his brother Niklaus. He loved music. Prince Niklaus had Esterhazy Palace built in the image of Versailles as a summer residence. In 1773, the Empress Maria Theresa visited Esterhazy. She was astonished by luxurious palace and theaters, but above all, she praised Haydn's talent and works. During nearly 30 years that Haydn worked at Esterhazy court, he produced a huge number of compositions, and his works have been known beyond the borders of Eisenstadt. At age 47, he met a 19-year-old vocalist, Luisa, whose husband was a band member. She had 2 sons, and the popular belief of the time that Haydn was the father of the younger son. In 1790, his patron, Prince Niklaus, died. His successor was not interested in music, so he followed the advice of concert agent Salomon and decided to go to England. His close friend, Mozart, was really concerned at the thought of parting with Haydn. "This is goodbye. We shall never meet again." The words proved prophetic. Haydn had seen the sea for the first time and arrived in England on New Year's Day in 1791. He was 58. The concerts were greatly successful. He received an honorary doctorate of music in Oxford. Musically, Haydn's visits to England generated some of his best-known works, including this surprise symphony. During his visit in England, Haydn sought out the famous astronomer Herschel. Haydn admired his giant telescope, the view of deep space. May have inspired Haydn's musical depiction of the work of the creation. England opened a new world to him. He later recalled, "It was the happiest days of my life." He returned to Vienna in 1795. Prince Nicholas II persuaded Haydn to return as active Kapellmeister. He composed his two great oratorios, The Creation and The Seasons. On March 1808, he appeared public for the last time at the performance of The Creation. Haydn, overcome with excitement, burst into tears. Next year, Vienna was bombarded by the French. On May 26, he gathered his household around him and played this Empress hymn 3 times over. 5 days later, on May 31st, 1809, he passed away at the age 77. Haydn's remains were interred in the local cemetery until 1820, when they were moved to Eisenstadt. His head took a different journey. It was stolen by a phrenologist shortly after burial, and the skull was reunited with remains for a dignified reburial in 1954. He considered himself an ugly man and thought that the best expedient was to be pleasant upon himself. His band and singers were sincerely attached to him. They loved him like a father. During his lifetime, Haydn wrote 107 symphonies and created the string quartet, and the keyboard sonata was developed and perfected by him. Haydn's music on the keyboards during his lifetime, clavichord, harpsichord, and fortepiano. This piano sonata was written for fortepiano and dedicated to his platonic lover, Maria Anna von Genzinger. He lived strictly by a self-imposed routine. He woke up at 6:30. He never sat down to work until he was fully dressed. His practice was to sketch out his ideas roughly in the morning and elaborate them in the afternoon. He was a devout Christian. He usually began the manuscript of each composition with "In the name of the Lord" and ended with "Praise be to God."